even that's depressing because it's 6 p.m. here in Toronto and it's pitch black outside. So yeah, you've got two up on me so far this week. How's it coming along anyway?
It's been a wild card of being very sure of each step, I think, in the process, and I have to say I'm utterly exhausted at this point. I really am. Like,
well,
can't.
Do you know what? In theory, it sounds like the perfect week to wildcard with obviously the international break, the long gap, and all these flags, as I said, just like some of them are coming in and then disappearing, vanishing in 3 days. And like I got a sense of today, like what was all the fuss about? Like you saw Robertson's flag removed, Chilwell, a lot of these guys that people were panicking over, and all of a sudden, no problems.
We never learn, do we? We never learn. We always get tied up in knots over an international break. I mean, to the point we were talking about this, to the point we just make up silly arguments just to feel some kind of emotion, and like start arguing on Twitter in the community for, I don't know, just idle minds, I guess.
Yeah. Well, I think the problem is, right, for me anyway, is that I'm biased, and you know that.
Mm-hmm. I do.
And I have a decision to make tonight. We're at 6 p.m., 2.5 hours until any price changes come through. And there's a certainty that Bruno Fernandes is going to go up on price. And it's looking, I know that you need a bit of convincing to put Bruno into your wild card, which is absolutely mind-boggling for me. I mean, I think if there's any player, if you want that wild card bounce going into this game week, then a Bruno Fernandes captaincy haul is just, it should be etched on the base of your wild card, and then you can hold that trophy aloft as it comes through. I mean, you have your reasons, and that's fine, but I'm here to convince you. And as I said, I'm not biased at all for any Man United players. But I'll let you explain yourself away.
Well, I mean, it's hard to explain myself because you know very well we both captained Bruno for our 6 picks.
Yeah.
So I understand that side. I think what really turns me off is I have a vision for my team in the medium term and long term. Certainly for the city's fixtures and the congested period, like I'm thinking that far out, and Bruno would put some cracks in that, I feel. And
it's
hard.
I sense what you're saying. The fact is that Bruno Fernandes, we spoke about his consistency not that long ago. Like, he's returning 8 points per game. And if you are going to bring 8 points per game in his 21 appearances so far since he came into the FPL picture last season, and if you're going to bring him in, you can't really be just thinking about West Brom.
Right.
And yeah, like our 2 games ahead, you got to be thinking, I'm using my wild card right now, and this has to do me until game week 16 at least. So unless you're willing to use Bruno Fernandes in a rotation system for captaincy, I can sense that a little bit on you thinking, right, this is my opportunity to really get my ducks in a row for 7 or 8 game weeks.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, my speakers have gone. Hold on 1 second. I'm going to switch to something a little bit bulkier.
Ooh, fancy. You can't hear me, but
I think my charge is gone actually in my cheap headphones. Let me just switch over.
FPL escapades. You can't hear anything right now. I'm going to talk to the people here while Kathal here gets his audio.
Still, I can hear you. Maybe you should start screen sharing your team and talk through it, because I'm having technical difficulties here, as everyone.
Okay. want to say hi, give a shout out to the FPL Escapades. It's 4:30 in the morning in India, and they're joining us here. Love you guys, man. You guys are awesome. So I am going to share my screen. Here we go. This is Zoom. And there we go. That's my screen. That's my screen, but this is my.
Oh, I am back.
You're back.
Yeah. Okay.
I was just saying we have the FPL Escapades joining us here from India. It's 4:30 in the morning in India.
Do you know what? That is commitment. Escapades. Good morning. You guys are the legends. That is seriously impressive stuff. Like the earliest I think I've set an alarm for FPL was, well, actually it's 6 a.m. deadline tomorrow, our time here. So I in the past
I never make any
5:36.
Yeah, I'm never awake at a deadline ever. But I'm awake for the 4:30 game though, 4:30 a.m. So I feel your pain, Escapades.
So what time is the first kickoff on your side? Newcastle Chelsea tomorrow. It's 7:30 here, so that's going to be too early for you.
4:30. What I usually do is it's my internal clock. I wake up in time for the game. I fall asleep maybe 30 minutes into it, and then I wake up for the last 10 minutes.
Oh, yeah. If it's like a Crystal Palace Burnley game, I'm sure it's just as you might sleep a little longer.
Yeah, I'll wake up for like a Spanish league game probably then in the morning. I watch a couple guys in the La Liga.
Yeah, I know that. Yeah, there's a couple other guys in the chat here. A 4:30 start for Maz, and he's wildcarding tonight. Jack Miller, who do you think I should captain, Vardy or Fernandez? I think I've just explained my allegiance towards Bruno, so I'm going to say Bruno right there. I mean, yes, Vardy's a great pick, but it's next week onwards, Fulham. What do you think, Vardy or Fernandez?
Well, I mean, this is the point of contention between us, isn't it?
Well, we're staring at your team now, and there's no Bruno Fernandez, so I think that's we've just divided that answer and split it right in two to help nobody.
Exactly. So that's how FPL works, right? It's like all these different opinions. In the end, you do whatever the hell you want.
That's it. Like it's all about the gut feeling, really, isn't it? Who you're gravitating towards.
So I think just to answer Jack's question a little bit here. So Jack, Cathal here is trying to convince me to get Bruno into my team. That's how far apart we are right now, and we're gonna try to find some resolution here.
Yeah, I mean, like looking at your team, De Bruyne is going to be your captaincy option from next week onwards, right? So I definitely see the merit of it's an obvious move to put a City midfielder in if you're on a wild card to prepare yourself for that run. Right. But why not incorporate Bruno? Oh, there we go.
Here's why. Here's the real reason. There's why Bruno is not in my team.
Well, I know that, but can you blame us? I mean, 17-point haul last game week, pure consistent machine, FPL point machine. And he's playing West Brom at home. I know, granted, Man United's home form has not been fantastic. But then they played, I think actually they bet Leipzig 5-0 at home. So they have done well in Old Trafford this season. It's not as if it's like out of the blue. I just feel like the West Brom team have that ability to capitulate. Like they can collapse as they did in the second half against Chelsea, conceded 3 goals. Absolutely fell apart against Everton, conceding 5.
Like the way Tottenham did against West Ham, right? They conceded 3 goals.
There you go. The
capitulators.
The capitulators is right, but I think Mourinho's kind of completely changed tact since then. He's improved them defensively, and he's not going to be embarrassed like that again. It's just in his character not to let that happen again. But talk us through. Well, there's one guy in there I see that is on my transfer list. I haven't made my transfers yet, by the way. I have two and a half hours until the price changes. It's 8:30 Eastern time when anything happens over here. So I need to make moves. Jack Grealish is one guy who's on the list. We'll talk about mine later, but I think Jack Grealish is one of those players who was just probably nailed all week for you, right?
Yeah, he hasn't left my team all week, and I'm actually late to the party. I wish I had gotten him sooner. I think he's just such a good value, just a great asset. I mean, if he were 9.0, I'd probably still get him. It's just talk about consistency.
Yeah, and we're only at game week 9, so you're not too late on the train, really, because he's playing in like that more advanced than ever now, and he's got better players around him this season. Like, I wouldn't be surprised. He may get a move soon. He might not be a Villa next year, but I can't see him being less than 9.5 if he continues in this vein. Like, this is the cheapest we'll get Jack Grealish, even at 7.5 million.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think he's still incredible value. But just to get back to that Bruno point really quickly, here's another reason why I'm not getting Bruno. Is I would only want Bruno. Really, I like him for the Southampton fixture. I think he can find some space in there, and it's away. I don't really believe that, but I'll say it anyway. It's like astrology. I don't believe it. But people always ask each other their sign. But I think Dejas can cover Bruno. And so in the model that I have, West Brom are much more likely to not score than they are to get pummeled. So their attack is really much meeker than their defense is, and so that's let's just say a goal without any bonuses is a nice, I think, floor for Dejas. And then with all the crosses he gives and everything he gives attacking, he could get bonus, or he could even get an attacking return. So I think for 5.5, it's like just a little over half the price of Bruno. I think I can be covered with United there.
Yeah, I mean, that's one thing that stands out massively. A lot of those players pick themselves, but the Tellez punt, I suppose we can call it a punt because he hasn't played a Premier League minute yet. It's a calculated one, and as you said, it really could. We're yet to see him in full flow, but like Porto last season, I think he had like 20 goal contributions from right back. Is that right? Yeah, I think he had 11 goals. That's huge. He took corners as well, so a great crosser. He's more likely to, from what I've read, he's more likely to like hug the touchline as opposed to make some inside moves. Like you saw Luke Shaw at left back kind of going inside a lot, not as attacking, I suppose, but he's more likely, if he gets a bit of space, to put a cross in. And that could, I mean, thinking out loud, that could probably benefit Martial, obviously, if he starts up there, Cavani, but Rashford on that same side. Rashford on that same side, getting inside more. If there's one statistic that stands out when you compare Bruno and Rashford side by side, is that Rashford has just way more touches in the box and is in those positions more regularly. But look, it's hard to discount Bruno in any way. He blitzes Rashford in every other stat like on the table that us fantasy managers look at. So I do like, how do you pronounce it? I say Tellez, you say Tellez?
Dejas, Alex Dejas.
Oh, you make it sound blissful. I'm butchering it completely. But yeah, I think, like, why not? I mean, 5.5, if it doesn't work out, it's an easy enough downgrade, isn't it?
Easy enough downgrade, and I have plenty of cover if that punt doesn't work out.
Yeah.
Right?
You do.
So,
yeah.
And so my thinking, I guess, just to talk about, I guess the back line is, and I thought this in preseason, but I didn't exactly know which players to get. And then certain transfers were made, but the best value as far as value, like points per million or value added per million in the game, is in the defenders in the 5.0 to 5.5 range. And I've thought this season that I really want to focus my game style or strategy on value and maximizing kind of points per million. so I've purposefully limited my premiums. I never have one more than like one, if you call it Vardy, like maybe a half premium, a false premium. I'll have like one premium and one false premium, and everything else is more in the like the 5 to 5 defenders area, or the 7 to 9 midfield and attacking. So that's kind of the overall, just the starting point for getting these players, and then fixtures and coverage and COVID and injuries and stuff.
Yeah, it's unusual for me. Like it's great because it's a completely different style to how I'd go about a wild card. I look at my team value, and like there's a like Keen's after commenting there, the team looks like the budget is impossible crazy depth, and I agree. But you haven't spent that much on premium players. You've got De
No.
Bruyne and Vardy, and then you have a bunch of players in there like Ziyech, Zaha, Grealish, and Souček are your other midfielders. Like none of them are like breach 8 million, or well, Ziyech is 8.1, that's the highest. So it allows you to spread your wealth. But going back to my style, I would always have like a Kilman or a Mitchell if he started, someone who's like 4 to 4.3 million for in my defense, who I can just no brainer bench every week. Saves me the headache of making that decision, and then I just auto pick my defense. And if there's an injury or an auto sub needed, then they'll come in and they might do okay. But like, what is there? Are you giving yourself a lot of headaches for the next 3 to 4 game weeks?
I think there's a yes, and I think I welcome the headaches. You know, I write a matchups article. It's it's kind of it's I think maybe that's why, part of the reason why I play this game is to give myself those decisions to make. Otherwise, I think I might be just a little bored. So I want to analyze the matchup, and I want to say, I don't like flipping a coin and being like, well, you know, you're playing City this week, Reguilon. Good luck, and throw you out there. It's like, no, you know what? You're playing City, and if they're in good form, you're gonna be on the bench, and I'm gonna play Lamptey against Burnley or something like that. I want to be able to make these decisions. And I think for me, it makes the game exciting.
Yeah, well, it's a refreshing approach, and it's a new angle for me. It's a new way of me looking at it. I still have my wild card in the back pocket, and I know that I just know if I went right now and hit that button, my team would just be a completely different setup to this. I mean, I would have playable players on the bench. I guess Souček is the first guy on your bench, right? Like I would have cheap playable players on the bench, but it would basically pick itself, the team. And each to their own, I guess. We all come out of it in the same way. But who are you going to captain this week? Because obviously De Bruyne has got a difficult fixture. He is that captainable high ceiling asset that you have in there. But is this Vardy against Liverpool? Is this the high scoring game that we all expect?
That's the way I'm going. See if I have some Vardy's
What's
like,
Vardy's ownership, by the way?
good question. Hold on one second. I was gonna bring, so Vardy is right here, tied for big chances in the last two. The tied for first for big chances in the last two, second for goals in the last two, second for not second, fourth for shots inside the box in the last 2 game weeks. Second for shots on target in the last 2 game weeks, second for expected goals in the last 2 game weeks.
Okay, so yeah, I could see that, but he is playing Liverpool again, weak in defense, which is going to help your cause there. We should just caveat that we have permission to use those fantasy football scout stats there, just in case
Yes.
anyone was questioning it. Yeah, have you got any dilemmas left? I'm not going to push Bruno on you because we all think in different ways. So it's personally, I feel like one of Bruno or Rashford is the optimal captain this week against a weak West Brom. So I'm not going to influence you any more than that. That's just my own opinion.
Mm-hmm.
But is there anything here that you're not sure of that you're willing to change in the next hour for our own entertainment?
I think Zaha is a conversation. But to answer your question, Vardy is 23% owned.
Yeah, that's going to change soon.
Yeah, that's going to change quickly next week. I mean, I don't know. I think everything's a conversation, right? It always is until I fall asleep because I won't wake up for the deadline. But I think, you know, if someone, I think there's an argument to be made for kind of just getting all, like, maximizing the best players that you can get, investing your money in these proven best players and not in the maybe more temperamental or inconsistent mid-priced players. So there's a definite risk to, I think, this approach. And for example, I had this in mind, and then when the Spurs assets, Son and Kane, really started firing, I had no room for that like 9 to 10 million player because I wasn't playing that way, right? So they were a little, I overlooked them much, and that hurt me. But I spent, back to like the kind of these like maxims we tell ourselves, I spent the whole summer kind of really reflecting on last season and coming up with an approach for this season. To abandon that now would feel like I didn't really give it a chance.
Yeah, I mean, you've got to believe in your preseason strategy, or whatever way you're going to align yourself up for how to play and approach FPL, and it's kind of important to stay true to that. My preseason strategy was not to take hits, and earlier I tweeted out that I was going to take a -8 this week, so just contradicted myself already. But we'll get to my predicament later on.
Well, I think your predicament is partly fueled by the fact that you've been kind of ogling my wildcard for a week. I've been sending you my drafts.
It's been pure wildcard envy all week.
All week.
And like, especially when you told me about this Richarlison Calvert-Lewin double up, I was like, yes, it's so obvious. Like their next three. What are Everton's next three? Click into, let's have a look. Fulham away, Leeds home, Burnley away. Like, okay, Burnley away might not be like a goal fest, but right. Fulham and Leeds, there's a serious opportunity to really benefit from Richarlison. 4% ownership, and on penalties, lest we forget. And I think in your matchups article you mentioned about Dominic Calvert-Lewin. Fulham have conceded the second most headers.
Yes.
League.
Yeah.
With Lucas Digne back in the fold, James coming back into the picture. I mean, the supply is going to be back up to that level. Maybe Gylfi Sigurdsson will start as well on the left.
That's a lot of delivery.
Would you be tempted for a DCL captaincy?
I would. I think DCL is a great shout for captaincy. I think he may be one of the safest captains of the game week. I think he's nailed for one goal. I think his upside could be limited. I feel like Richarlison's going to be greedy. I think he has a point to prove. And I think he's going to be greedy. But I think DCL is nailed for one of those, just a tap in or a header.
Yeah, I like it. Let's go in, just for the sake of it, let's go into your team setup. If you go up to pick team and just see how you're going to line up for this week if things stay this way.
Well, here's the thing. This is my I haven't made these transfers yet. They're not official.
Oh,
yeah.
I see.
So the reason I haven't pulled the trigger is because I'm about to gain 0.1 in selling value in Bruno, because I picked Bruno up at the beginning of the game week, and it'll be a double rise tonight. So I'm gonna make a little bit of coin, and then I'm gonna
well, that's clever. I mean, you are going to make coin because inevitably he's gonna rise tonight.
Yeah.
I think on FPLstatistics.co.uk, he's at like 103.8, which is pretty much a certainty.
Yeah. So the one question, and I think is an interesting conversation is, once that rise happens, I will have enough to have James here instead of Zaha if I want.
Yeah.
And
I mean,
triple up for Fulham and Leeds. That's
wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you're targeting the fixtures, and that's one proven way to play this game. But I'm going to throw a spanner in the works and say, should we be relying solely on fixture runs, being that teams can just dip in and out of form from one week to the next this season? Should you be looking to establish more tried and tested FPL assets like Salah? Obviously not Salah this week, but like a Mane or a De Bruyne, a Sterling, like someone in there, or even a Bruno, I should say, because as we said, he's 8 points per game is what Bruno has since he started his Man United career 21 games ago in the Premier League. Like, that's consistency regardless of fixtures.
Mm-hmm.
And actually, before that you answer that, there's a comment in here from Gaddafi Effendi. Interesting playing style. No plan for Salah in the later weeks, or Sterling if he catches fire. So is there anything, like, what is your contingency? What will you do? Who will you release if you really need to get, let's say Liverpool just hit form next week. Let's say they destroy Leicester 4-1, 4-2, and you're in panic mode now because Salah's back next week. They're going to get even stronger, and you need to get in on them away to Brighton. What do you do?
That's a great question. And I do have a plan for it. And Salah is 100% coming in when he's available again. So the plan is the following. And then to the Sterling point, De Bruyne potentially would be Sterling if I knew Sterling was fit. It's that little doubt I have in my mind. That's why I've kind of gone De Bruyne there. But the plan for Salah is I'd be turning Zaha, Ziyech, and most likely Richarlison. Richarlison would go down to Antonio. Zaha would go down to a 5-5 midfielder or cheaper, and then Ziyech becomes Salah. And then my setup turns into like a 4-4-2 / 4-3-3. It would be like a 4-3-3 / 3-4-3 occasionally, in a good matchup.
Yeah, so that's a 3 transfer -4. If you roll next week, it would be a 3 transfer -4 to get back on the Salah train.
Right. So I would. The plan is, the plan is to roll next week and then get right back on the Salah train the week after.
Sounds good to me. I mean, good answer. You've thought about that.
Yeah, and so the midfield for the record, it would look like it would be Grealish, De Bruyne, Salah. The front line would be a fit Antonio, most likely Calvert-Lewin because I bought him cheaper, and Vardy. And then that back line of Cancelo, Chilwell, Davis, and Cresswell with Lamptey coming in.
Oh, what a quality first sub to have, Tariq Lamptey.
He's so exciting. I love that kid.
I last week I watched the Brighton game, and usually I have like a post-it or something nearby just because I forget a lot of the things I see. It's actually great right now because there's so much football on TV. I don't know what type of providers you have over there, but we have DAZN. It's DAZN, and they have an option. Well, they used to have an option last season where you could watch every single goal live. So you'd watch your favorite game, and then every time a goal's scored, it would just run a 30-second clip of the move and the goal, and then go back to the game you're actually watching. It was a complete dream. It was unbelievable. But this season, obviously every game is shown, and it's great. By the way, DAZN aren't getting paid for any sponsorship here. I'm just going off on a tangent. But I watch a lot of games early in the morning as you do. So sleepy eyes, bleary eyed. I'm just kind of taking as much in as I can. And I wrote down on a post-it, Lamptey is unreal. Exclamation mark. That's all I wrote for that game. It was like Lamptey is unreal. And it was just to remind myself that like of his performance, because you were watching a lot of football and you can just forget. And it was against Spurs as well. Like it wasn't, he scored, didn't he? Yeah, he scored. So yeah, there was a reason behind it. But I thought he was excellent. I think the only other player I wrote down on the post-it was Eze. I wrote down Eze question mark. But I digged a little deeper and I've gone off him. I think he was flagged as well, actually.
I mean, you were swayed by that free kick. I mean, anytime a ball hits the underneath of the bar, it's
well, I brought in Patrick Van Aanholt in my I play a draft league with some friends of mine in Ireland, and I had Van Aanholt in, and I saw him standing over that free kick, and I was thinking, this is his moment. This is why I brought him in when he was still semi-injured, because I was going to utilize him in a couple of weeks, and no, lo and behold, I couldn't argue when I saw that free kick go in. It was just like so beautiful.
Yeah, I have him in most of my draft leagues as well. People
that's
just
another
about him.
Yeah, it is one of those things. That's the secret in draft. You get players in when they're still a little bit injured, like Ricardo Pereira. Ricardo Pereira is coming back into the fold now for Leicester. Still a little bit away, but people aren't thinking about him. If you can get him in on your draft leagues, now you'll just get ahead of the game. But that's actually talking about Palace. It was a huge shock, a surprise really for him to score 4 goals last week. Did Zaha have any involvement? Did he get
Nothing.
one?
Zero. Nothing at all. You can see here. Oh no, wait. No, he got an assist.
He got an assist. Like that's for like for Palace to score 4 goals and him to only have 1 involvement is crazy. It's absolutely crazy.
It's atypical.
Yeah. So let's have a look at Palace's fixtures there, because I know that it's the next 3 really, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
And then you could potentially jump off him.
Yes. So it'll be around. Yeah, that'll be around when I bring Salah in, I guess.
Yeah. What about the double up for Aston Villa? Are you tempted by like someone like Ollie Watkins, 6.1 million?
Honestly, yes. I mean, Ollie Watkins, I think, is a great pick. I think Barkley is fantastic value. Just a little bit out of my reach, but I, with their fixtures coming up, we'll look here. I mean,
it's just insane right up until Chelsea away. Yeah.
I mean, to be fair, I do think West Ham and Wolves are tricky fixtures, but they're not bad, right? I think more middle of the road, but this is just such a nice run.
It is. Yeah, I agree. Let me just have a look. I want to see what game was it though when Villa just looked so bad for the first half. They conceded 3 goals and then they bucked up their ideas.
Southampton.
Was it Southampton?
Yeah.
It was. When I watched
where they scored like 3 in the last 10 minutes or something like that.
Yeah.
I mean, it was the 4-3.
That's the thing. I mean, Villa at times looked absolutely horrendous, and then the next minute they just look like they're going to win the league.
Yeah.
And it confused me a little bit. But I watched some highlights from the last time out, and I have to say, like, Ross Barkley has changed that team. Like he really is that integral force in midfield that have turned things around for them. I don't know if you've seen the game, but he had this like volleyed cross for Ollie Watkins' second goal. It was so underrated. Like it was an amazing cross, unbelievable assist.
I honestly, I have to admit, I've never believed he's had that in him. Just watching him play, I mean, I've always thought that, and it's not controversial, that he was just that he was always at the wrong club. It was always like the fit just was never really there. But I never really believed in him until I've seen him in Villa, and that cross specifically, I was like, who's this? Who is this guy? Yeah. That was impressive.
Yeah, he seems to be enjoying himself. And maybe it's a young team, so maybe he's just like showing a bit of leadership on the field, like at last. And what price is Barkley? I mean, it's too hard to get him in. It's Grealish
He's
all the way. You
6.0.
6.0. Like you just have to have Jack Grealish this season,
Yeah, for
unfortunately.
sure.
And if all things equal in terms of ownership, you wouldn't think of anybody else. And we're still early in the season. It's game week 9. I mean, you can get those points consistently.
But for that
Yeah.
nice run, I think Barkley is such a good value option if you have a different structure than I do. For example, for someone like you, Cathal, if you're going to go with your, with more premiums to fit in like a little, a 6.0 Ross Barkley in addition to Jack Grealish, I think is really interesting.
We should ask actually the chat, see if anybody wants to put in suggestions as to how Gabriel can improve his wild card here.
Yeah, but what would you all do with this team?
Yeah, I like the Cancelo pick. I think actually Cancelo is one of those players who is going to go up in price tonight. So that's one player that you should monitor the price changes. I know that you're going to pull the trigger for Fernandez to get his extra 0.1 million. He's in already?
He's in already.
Okay, so you're going to get that.
Yeah, so the players that are not in are Deyes, Cresswell, De Bruyne, Socek, Zaha, and Richarlison. I think I'm safe on all of them.
Yeah, I think that let me just have a look and see who's going up. Grealish for certainty.
And so FPLstatistics.co.uk for all of you that aren't familiar, looking for
I sense it's quite reliable. Do you have any other price change sources that you use? I know that Fantasy Football Fix have a good one as well. It seems to be quite accurate and adapts itself.
I used to use Fix all the time, and then some, but I have gotten some like just crazy reads out there. I'll see these price changes, and there'll be like 15 players changing. So one time I got a screen grab of it and I put it on Twitter, and so it was not accurate. So
yeah, I feel like when there's a lot of wild cards in certain weeks, it can confuse the algorithm. But I think I'm looking at this now, and Martinez is actually for Villa, who you've got in there. He's in. Scheduled to rise in price. Cancelo's going up to 5.5, and then Fernandez is ahead of the pack. I feel like that rise is just inevitable. It's a double price change for him. I see Seamus McCarthy, FPL Drunk, is in the chat. Sorry, I'm late. What have I missed? Well, you missed me trying to. Well, I failed really. I kind of backed down on trying to convince you to get Bruno Fernandes into your team and captaining him this week. But cheers, Seamus.
Seamus, cheers. Cathal tried to convince me to get Bruno, and I convinced him to not get Bruno. I think so. No.
Seems to be a lot of money spent in defenders. We went over that too. And it's basically just a different approach. I mean, I personally always have a bencher, a cheap bencher in there.
Real quick, the reason for that is just historically, that's where the best value in the game is. The best points per million is found between the 5.0 to 5.5 defenders. And Chilwell's just the best defender in the game this season.
Oh, so good. Like, it's going to be interesting, actually, this the early kickoff tomorrow, Newcastle-Chelsea, because like I pointed out the on the right flank for Newcastle, they have Jacob Murphy in there. Well, he was in the last game anyway, and it just looked a little bit suspect, really. And the fact that they're going to have Chilwell and Werner on that side, I assume Abraham's going to play it down the middle. It's going to be like an overload, and then Ziyech on the other side swinging balls to the back post. I can see repeat points for Chilwell and Werner again this week. I really can. And I know that Werner is one of those players that people are kind of tipping as a differential captain, but he's just at that awkward price. Like, it's 9.4. I don't know how you could work him into this type of a wild card, especially from the evidence we've seen from Ziyech. Like, he's for 8.1 million. He's putting on. I think someone put out a tweet actually saying that he's created the second most big chances out of everybody let me get that tweet. Out of everybody, even though he's only played 2 game weeks, like that's unverified because it's a tweet on Twitter. But it sounds. Sorry, no. So it was another FPL podcast. I think this is a podcast, a new podcast from Oh Hey Stranger. Ziyech is joint 4th for big chances created from only 2 starts this season. That's really impressive.
That's madness.
Yeah.
And he's in, and my plan is to sell him in my Zaha plan. I'd be selling him, which is going to be really tough to do.
Yeah.
But if you see his fixtures down the road.
Yeah.
I mean, so Everton, Wolves, West Ham, Arsenal, I don't like this run right here. Yeah. Hard to score goals there. Low scoring games.
Would you be tempted to downgrade Cresswell to one of the 4.5 options in Kufal or Masuaku just to release that little bit extra bit of funding? And the only reason I say that is that will enable a triple up on Everton because you could upgrade Zaha to James Rodriguez.
Well, I can actually, after the Bruno price rise, I'll have enough to do that.
So what have you got in the bank right now with this?
0.2. So with 0.2 in the bank, I'm 0.1 short of James. So here I'll get rid of Zaha. There's James. Right, and I'm 0.1 short of James.
Ah, you see, you've got this all worked out.
But Bruno rises, and I get that 0.1, and I'll have just enough for James if I want that triple up.
So make sure you definitely have Martinez in there, right? Is there anybody that you previously had in your team that's going to drop in price? Just want to make sure you're thinking of everything. Okay, you're okay then. So there's a lot riding on this Bruno price rise for you.
There could be, but is it is it a trap, right? Is it like, do I want 3 Everton? I mean, the fixtures are phenomenal, but is Richarlison and Calvert-Lewin kind of feels like enough. If I diversify a little bit, get Zaha in there, I get another penalty taker.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, essentially you'll be jumping off the Everton triple up within the next couple of game weeks. Well, within 3. So right. Yeah, and then if you were going the Everton triple up, I feel like you'd have to captain one. If you're that committed to one team, throw the armband on one of the assets at least and hope for like double returns, like a goal with an assister.
Right. If I'm trying to hit that differential, right?
Yeah, it's just a thought.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, and this was kind of the first. It was when I realized I was 0.1 away and Bruno was going up that I kind of went in this direction.
Yeah. Oh, that's fair. Oh, well, another thing you could do is you could lose Richarlison for a Shea Adams or Ollie Watkins or Bamford, and then upgrade one of those like midfielders you're uncertain about. Who's nailed there? Grealish, Ziyech, and De Bruyne, you're pretty nailed with. So Souček is your playable bench player, I guess.
Yeah. So
then it's just the Zaha spot, really, isn't it?
Yeah. I mean, if we want to, I could be inclined to get even to get Antonio and bench him because I know.
Can you afford Rashford? Sorry to interrupt, but can you afford Rashford if you go down to Antonio? No, you're going to be short 9.2.
Be a little short, right? Yeah, 9.2.
Well, you could probably get the extra funds from Cresswell downgrade then.
Yeah. So see, this is what happens when I try to fit in a United player. I change this player. I change Richarlison. I change Cresswell just to get in a United player for 2 game weeks. One of which, and I only really believe one is a kind of a good matchup.
Yeah.
It feels like paying a lot for something so fleeting or temporary.
There's
like
2 people asking.
Uh-huh.
I understand that. Yeah. I mean, I always feel like I need to get that immediate bounce on a wild card. So I will go for the most transferred in player, or the optimal captaincy option for the preceding game week. There's two people asking you who you're captaining here in the chat.
So my captain this week is Vardy. I was showing some stats earlier. Vardy over the last 2 game weeks, tied for first for big chances, second for goals, tied for first for shots on target, second for expected goals. So he's showing great form, and Liverpool are reeling in defense. So
yeah.
But again, even I'm not like I like that. It's exciting for me. But I could be convinced. I think we were talking about Calvert-Lewin as a safe option, Richarlison as a differential option, Grealish as a safe option as well.
Yeah, it's I don't know. Maybe we should jump onto my team because I have to make my transfers fairly soon.
Yeah.
I'm gonna share my team here. So it looks like you're pretty set then, just dependent on what happens very soon, price wise.
I think so. I see the arguments for other sides, and I'm terrified of United this week. But I think Tejas is going to save me from any kind of like lashings that Bruno might have in store. So can we get to your hits? I want to see this -8.
Yeah,
so that's what we're all here for.
I talked myself out of the -8 a long time ago, but then I kind of revisited it recently. I'll just kind of highlight what it was. So I've got some bookmarked tweets here. Let me find it. It's probably at the top. So I've already got rid of Trent for Chilwell. I did that last week because of the changes in price in both directions were going to screw me over. So what I did was I moved for Chilwell early. I mean, granted that Chilwell back spasm gave me my own type of spasms. When I saw the flag come in, I was thinking, what have I done here? I've just got rid of an injured player for an injured player, but it thankfully worked its way out. It worked itself out. And then Salah, for the obvious reasons, Harvey Barnes and Podence, they're two players that I have, and I've been holding on to them because of the fact because I had other fires to put out. Sorry, I really did not want them in my team. The minutes that they were having on the pitch were limited each time. Podence comes off for Traore. It's like clockwork every week. He plays 55 to 70 minutes, and then he's substituted. And I don't even know why Traore is not starting. I think it's something to do with his contract. I think he needs to commit himself to the club, and that's why there's. But like I would start Traore over like every game for them. I feel like they're missing that spark up front, and if you look at their XG, Wolves wise, they really need something to get them going. Mm-hmm. But Podence is just not doing it. Harvey Barnes didn't even play last week, and now at the return of Maddison and this new guy under. The Turkish guy, he's pretty good. Like the couple of times he came on for Barnes around the 65th minute, 70th minute, he assisted Vardy. Like he looked like he had some sort of bond there of Vardy very early. Was able to play him in a couple of times. So Chilwell, James, Grealish, and Bruno. Now I don't even think this will fit anymore. Let me try and see if it will. So Trent's gone already. Salah, Podence, and Barnes. And I'm just gonna put in Rodriguez and Grealish. Oh, it will fit.
Just a quick comment because I'm not. What fits? I can't see
it does, yeah. I've got zero. I've exactly the right funds, but it's a -8. That's I don't think I've taken a -8 since probably when I was playing casually 4 or 5 seasons ago. Like -8's a no-go for me. at the same time, it's a feel-good move. I mean, it's optimizing a team for one game week. Maybe that's another way of looking at it, which
So
is probably
I'm not
forward
a
thinking.
-8 guy either. I think I've taken one or two in since I've been playing FPL. But I do take a lot of hits. I mean, I'll take 15 hits in a season or something like that. But I don't. They're always -4s. But Nick Khan, Nick Khan at Nick Khan
Yeah.
tweets, he's taken back-to-back -8s and he's gotten back-to-back green arrows after a really difficult start to the season. So he's on the -8 is the way to go train. So like, I
Well,
think he might be better than you.
he's evidently got proof of that. I mean, anything that gets you a green arrow can't be a wrong decision. But two back-to-back -8s, that's real surgery in your team. Like a -16, a lot of people would play a wild card and it would be the equivalent of a -16. So fair enough. If he has his wild card still in his pocket, maybe he's playing it right. Maybe he's just getting his team into a certain. Well, I know Nick. I know he's going to probably take hits next week as well. So
Yeah, he is.
I was going to try. I was trying to justify it by saying maybe he's getting his team into a template situation for the next 5-6 game weeks. But no, he's quite reactive. Really nice guy though. I'm going to not do this because of this reason. This -8. It's not going to happen. I'm not happy with a lot of players on my team.
Before we make any rash decisions here, let's just light a few more fires. I think is the analogy that is, which is awesome.
Let's just leave Harvey Barnes in there. Like, I mean, the reason why Podence has to go is obvious. It's not so obvious why Harvey Barnes has to leave my team. If you look at the fact that they play Fulham next week, and then they've got a good run after Liverpool, and you just explained why Liverpool are a little weak right now.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone kind of knows their injury issues at the back. The only issue I have with Harvey Barnes is he's not guaranteed to start. But if he does start, I think the main weakness that Liverpool have is probably their right flank with Trent missing. Who will play there? Probably Nico Williams or someone like that will slot in.
Probably Milner against Leicester. I think
Milner could do that. Yeah. But they might want someone like Harvey Barnes to run at them.
Yes.
Like Brendan Rodgers might decide to play him, but at the same time, it's just for 6.9 million. I'm just not getting anything out of him. If you look at his history, he played 18 minutes last week. He got his goal against Leeds early on. I think it was assisted by Vardy, but then it was just a miserable run before that of blanks, and you can see the minutes gradually decreasing as well, which is just like the.
So you have a few suggestions here in the chat.
Okay, let's have a look.
Ollie Howlett Sutton, I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. He's suggesting Salah out for Mane or Fernandez, or Kane out for Vardy. Suggesting those.
Yeah. Salah out for Mane or Fernandez is what I'm going to do.
Fernandez.
Yeah, I'm going to go for Fernandez. So that is pretty much, I kind of made my mind up with that one.
Mm-hmm.
To be honest, I'm not going to lie to anyone. I've made up my mind with both of my transfers. So it's going to be a -4 hit. And Podence is coming out too because I'm so sick of him. I'm so nervous.
Our job, everybody, is to push him to the -8. That's our responsibility right now. That's why we're here.
Yeah, and like I'll need a lot of convincing and bribery to do that. So get on it. I mean, Podence is coming out, and the reason why is that it's just Grealish is irresistible. Like, he's just so good for what you pay for him.
Yeah.
And I don't have him yet. It's the obvious move to make, and there's no point overthinking it. You just do the obvious thing. Get Grealish in. I mean, I'd nearly say Grealish is probably more essential than Fernandez if you look at the run Villa have from game week 9 to 16, which is sensational. A guy who doesn't have any European involvement. He plays 90 minutes every week, and he's got 10 goal contributions so far this season. I mean what's not to like?
In the mid-sevens, he's probably the closest player to a must-have, right? at that price?
Evidently, because he's owned by almost 40% of the managers in the game. So, yeah, I mean, I know you put up that tweet with Sheep following Bruno Fernandes over a cliff, but I don't think I'm going wrong with Grealish here. I mean, it's well proven that he's worth all of 7.5 million. So Grealish is in there. That's what I'm thinking I'll do.
And
Now,
I think Seamus actually, like, to your point on Barnes, Seamus is saying against Liverpool that play a higher line, it's a kind of a perfect game for Barnes and Vardy. So maybe Barnes isn't such an issue for you at the moment. And then Anand Sindhu, who's one of the members of the FPL Escapades, he's just reminding you that if you're going to get Bruno, you better get him before his price rises in about 90 minutes.
Yeah, that's a certainty. I'll be hitting that trigger very soon.
and
very soon.
You'll be bringing them in at that point, and that's the point where I'll be shipping them out.
Exactly. Yeah.
They'll like wave to each other on the way.
We're both benefiting from that price, price change. But yeah, I mean, there was other ideas I had before the Salah news came in. I was thinking, now there was in that comment, I think he said go for Kane to Vardy as an option, and that is something I consider for next week, as a way of targeting fixtures. You've got a great captaincy option in game week 10 with Vardy home to Fulham. So, but another move I was thinking about was going for, assuming that Salah was okay to play, which he isn't. I was going to go for Ollie Watkins in here, and then I was going to go for Bruno Fernandes in here. So
can you scroll up a little bit there for me, Katal, so I can think.
Okay, so let me just let's put in Fernandes again. I'm going to put in Wally Watkins, and this would have freed up. So this would have freed up a little bit of cash, 1.1 million, and it would have allowed me to upgrade Fernandes to Kevin De Bruyne next week. So it would give me Fernandes captaincy for game week 9, and it would give me a Kevin De Bruyne captaincy for game week 10 at home to Burnley. But that's all dependent on City turning up and actually performing like we expect them to perform. So still a lot of questions to be answered.
So it'd be Bruno for just 1 week?
Yeah, it would be if I went this route. But as I said, I've kind of already made my decision.
Yeah.
I'm going to let go of Salah and Podence for Bruno and Grealish. It seems too obvious, but I think the obvious move is the right move on this occasion. It gives me a captaincy for this week and potentially next week, and it allows me to observe the Spurs City game, because they have a difficult run coming up, and if I see Harry Kane playing in his central defensive midfielder role and Spurs trying to protect a narrow lead or just break on the counter, then I would 100% get rid of Kane and keep Heung-min Son. So that's yet to be decided. Kane, they might attack. They have a front line of Son, Bale, and Kane now. So maybe Mourinho will think attack is the best form of defense. Highly unlikely, but maybe he will. He's like, I'm going to put trust in my front three and see if I can outplay City.
Just really quick, because all I see is your, and I think Seamus brought this up as well. I only see the screen from your points from last week.
Why is that? Okay.
And I only see kind of like the defensive half. But Seamus seems like he's your doppelganger or something, because he's moving Salah and Trossard to Bruno and Grealish as well. So he's bringing both those players in as well. Oh, there we go. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Sorry about that, guys. We're back on track. So yeah, basically Seamus has the Harvey Barnes issue as well. He has that conundrum. So it is a case of, will he start? Will he not start? But I've got, I feel like I can hold on to him for one more week and say my prayers.
And just to comment really quickly on your kind of the order of how you're doing things, not bringing Vardy in this week, not taking that extra hit to bring Vardy in this week. I think we have at FPL Tornado, who's I think he's in the chat there somewhere, who has that same dilemma. And, people are getting pretty excited about Vardy with the Liverpool news. Just, I guess the advice is be strategic about it. Vardy next week next week's a great time to bring him in as well.
Yeah, I agree. I think Vardy. Well, for me anyway, in my personal situation, if Harvey Barnes start, that could be just enough cover for that Liverpool game. I feel like Vardy is one of those players that you will. Well, if you own him, you want to captain him. So next week could be the right move for me. But I'm quite happy with that. I mean, I'm not happy with my team, but I still have my wild card. So there's a lot of kind of patchwork to be done here and there, and I feel like these two transfers are a good start.
And when are you thinking for your wild card? What's the plan?
I'm thinking I'm gonna wait as long as possible. That's all I'm thinking. I'm trying to get to in and around game week 16 when the double game weeks are announced, and we have those. We have Man United and Man City playing obviously 2 games in one week. So
Ben Crone said that they're going to be announced after this week 16 deadline.
They'll be announced after, but I'm hoping that they'll be between game week 16 and game week 19. So you can rest assured that if you went triple city or got a couple of United players in there, then you'll be golden. Right. But look, it's I was close to doing it this week, to be honest. I was close to smashing that wildcard button, and I held out because I thought I had 2 free transfers going into this game week. So I was thinking, if I hit my wildcard, I'm kind of wasting the 2 free transfers that I really kind of disciplinedly saved for the international break. So that's part of my thinking too. Maybe a little bit distorted, but that's what I was thinking. What do you think I should have hit the wildcard button? It's too late now.
I'm just thinking, if it were me, it's hard. It's hard to not think as oneself, right? I mean, I've had this plan to wildcard this game week from the very beginning. So I'm looking at your team and I say, yes, I would have wildcarded. But
yeah,
is that my pre-plan talking, or is that my honest assessment of your team talking? I have no idea.
Well, I think that's your pre-plan talking, because you said you were adamant that you were going to wildcard this game week before going into game week 8. So yeah, that's fine by me. I like my front line. I think Werner and Calvert-Lewin and also Kane can do quite well this week, but more Werner and Calvert-Lewin.
I'd love to see that. I'd love to see that line when Vardy comes in. Werner, and like the Werner Vardy combo, I haven't seen very much, and I think that could be really good.
Werner needs to start performing though in terms of FPL points. I mean, 9.4 for what he's produced so far, especially when you have the likes of your budget options, Bamford, Ollie Watkins, Shea Adams, even like they're all producing, they're all getting more points than Werner. And there's something in the back of my mind, like even that Burnley, was it Burnley away or Sheffield at home when he was actually on the bench, but then Pulisic got injured. It was one of those games. I mean,
yeah.
There is a threat of rotation there with Werner, and like I don't think 43 points is justifying his price tag, because you'd nearly want a captaincy option in him. Again, he could be a great captain this week.
But so I look at it. So I'm looking at Werner, and obviously I wrote about him as well in the matchups article. And when looking at game weeks 1 through 4 and 5 through 7, there's a notable difference. And you can see it in the production there as well, right? If you're looking at the second half of, maybe he took a month to settle in, and in the last month he has settled in, and he's gone 16, 2, 7, 7, which is hinting at some consistency.
Yeah, eye test wise, he last game week he should have hauled. Yeah, he should have had at least 2 goals. But look, I mean that's the thing. If you wildcard, then you're not giving players like Werner a chance, because the obvious move is to transition into a Ziyech where there's more value in midfield. And as with the way Werner's playing now, he is kind of a midfielder. He's not he had his game week 5 amazing 16-pointer playing up the middle, and that's where you want him to be. So that's not going to happen this week. But there's players that I kind of I don't want to hold on to them, but I do. Do you know that kind of way? And Werner's in that category. There's signs of improvement, but it's all about points. Yeah, there's problems everywhere in this team, but as you said, you would have pulled the wild card trigger, and I can still do it. I mean, like if things don't go well with these 2 transfers, let's say Fernandez blanks, which is entirely possible because Man United have been up and down this season. Then and let's say Man City perform really well this week, then I have no qualms like smashing that button and tripling up on Man City, or doing something like that. Just jumping on the form team. So like even James Justin, like with Castagna's back now, Pereira's shortly. It's 3. Well, he might move into centre back if they're playing a back 3, but I feel like he's going to be a rotation problem soon. Tariq Mitchell's not even playing.
As other players are kind of rising, right? You have some kind of sunsetting players, and other players are rising, but you'll know, like that's the nice thing about that, like as late as possible is it's like you'll know when it's time, I think.
Yeah, peaks and troughs. Players have their. It's getting the timing right. It's a difficult thing to do. That's why we all completely indulge ourselves in stats and watching games and highlights and trying to figure this stuff out. But it's a real hard one to strike right.
So a question for you: Are you dead set on Bruno captain?
Yes.
Yes.
If I'm going to make these moves, Bruno's my captain.
Yeah.
There was a slight worry. I did think of Werner, but but the majority of people going for Fernandez, I'm going to be one of those sheep, and I'm going to jump off the cliff, and hope that there's a VAR penalty at the bottom of the cliff. So I'm pretty certain that Fernandez is coming in, and like I tried so many different combinations of transfers, and I was either short on cash or I just kept reverting back to this Fernandez and Grealish. And I'm going to stop wasting everyone's time, and I'm going to just do it. So there's Grealish, Fernandez. How are we on? It's a -4. It is. 2 free transfers. Chilwell to Trent Trent to Chilwell was the first one, and then Grealish, Fernandez for Podence and Salah. It's only my second hit this season, so I don't feel too bad about doing it. Salah, Podence, Grealish, Fernandez. There we go. It's done. It's time to set up this bad boy for. I think the bench picks itself. Justin's first sub. Let's leave him there. With Castagna back, I think he'll probably play in the back line anyway. I don't think he's going to be wing back. Let's just move on. The captaincy, the armband to Fernandez. I'm going to put the vice in Calvert-Lewin. And I'm going to leave it at that. It doesn't look too bad on paper.
No, I think you have a good setup for this week. This team doesn't need a wild card for sure.
Hold on, you said you'd wild card if about 10
but
minutes
I
ago
would have.
Was your team.
I would have. I would have wild carded anyway, but even it not needing it. But and again here now we're going into my bias. I have a bias against Spurs, and I have a bias against Harvey Barnes. So I'd look at these players and be like, I can't do it.
Yeah, I had issues with Harvey Barnes last season too. I got him in for a run of good games, and he produced nothing. He had a plethora of opportunities, but his finishing was just horrific. And I think I fell into a trap with this one. I definitely did. I saw things that I liked in the first 3 game weeks. As you saw, he got his haul in game week 2, but the thing that I liked the most was his minutes. He was getting full games, but then as the Europa League came in and players started kind of coming back, like Prate was more of an option in midfield. Madison obviously now, I realized that there's going to be problems. So
But didn't he also have like one of the most shots in the box or something like that to begin the season? He had a ridiculous amount of chances or shots or something like that.
yeah, he was right up there for midfielders in FPL. I think he had the most touches in the box after 2 game weeks.
Right.
Yeah, so one of those stats that draws you in, but doesn't actually mean too much touches in the box if he's not getting his shots away and doing it efficiently.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's one of those things I'd like to correct. Again, Fulham next week. Who knows? He might hit a bit of form.
Yeah, and potentially the right matchup in Liverpool coming up. So
yeah, exactly. I've got some team news here. Let me just see what else we got here. Team news. Well, there's nothing really that we need to kind of clarify. I mean, let me just go down. I don't want to make anyone nauseous by scrolling too quickly, but I'm just going to move down to see what the Fantasy Football Scout have given us their predicted lineup for Leicester. Here we go. See, there you go. They don't have Barnes on the predicted lineup. So anyway, everyone's probably sick of hearing me talking about Harvey Barnes. Let's move on. That's me set up for game week 9. So I'm locked in. Deadline 11 hours time. So no more headaches for me.
You're in. I
in.
need to wait for Bruno to go up, make a little money, and then I'll do mine and I'll be locked in as well.
Sounds good. Where are we with this stream? We've been on for a while, haven't we?
I think so.
Yeah, we should probably call it quits and attend to other people in our household.
Yeah. We've been on for over an hour.
It actually flew by. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah.
And we worked some stuff out as well.
Huh?
Yeah, definitely. We should do it again. We should make it a regular occurrence. These Saturday morning deadlines suit it well for a Friday night stream. So may they continue.
Yeah.
Well, please, we'll be in contact in an hour's time to see what happens with the price rises. But please do let us know what happens with your team if you end up tempted to move Zaha out for Rodriguez or.
Yeah, that's going to be an interesting one. I don't think I'll have the cojones to go all in like that on Everton, but I'm certainly thinking about it. But yeah, I will definitely update and. Thank you, Seamus. Thanks for your interaction there. He says, good to see your wildcard team, Gabriel. Appreciate it. And thank you, everyone, for joining us.
Cheers,
I'll
guys.
definitely update. I'll update everyone once it's all set in stone.
Awesome. All right, buddy.
All right.
Cheers. Talk to you soon. Bye.
Happy Friday.
Happy Friday. Okay.